Hello, hello. Welcome to my quick Facebook Live. So glad that you guys, excuse me, are here today. So, one of the things that's become incredibly popular is to discuss how we can possibly survive when we are in poverty. And I'm going to tell you, to be quite honest, um, my mom raised us in poverty. We were broke. She was a single mom, and there were two of us kids. And she had to support us without any child support. There wasn't no SNAP. there there was some food stamps, which is what we now call SNAP. But it was very taboo back in the day to rely upon the government for these sorts of things, for food assistance and for utility assistance. It was the 60s, man, and the early 70s. And so it just was very uncommon for people to live on government assistance. And there was no way to enforce the child support laws or the child support that you were entitled to if you were raising your children without their daddy. And so we were very poor. We I'm sitting here thinking, but I got to be honest with you. Okay, so I said this in my description. It wasn't that hard, and I'll tell you why it wasn't that hard. My mom didn't tell me we were poor. She did not inform me that we were impoverished. She did not tell me that we were poor. In fact, I can remember specifically more than once pouring water, using water for milk. We didn't even have powdered milk. So I used water to put on my cereal because that's what we had. We had water. Hallelujah. We had some running water. But I'm telling you, one of the reasons that we struggle with this idea of, how do we battle poverty? I got to be honest with you. A lot of people think they're broke that ain't broke. They got cell phones that work. They got TV that works. They got electricity in their house. They've got food in the fridge, no matter where it comes from. They've got, here's what really irritates me. I got to be, okay, so I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be ugly about this. I'm just saying you might not really be as broke or as impoverished as you think you are. Okay. There's a very good chance that you just have a choice problem, not a money problem. When my husband and I got married, I hope he sees this video. We were so cute. We lived in a 100, 100. We paid $145 a month for rent, and we lived in a converted gas station. So the floor was concrete, and it was covered with kind of this indoor outdoor low nap carpet, like this flat carpet. God forbid you fall down because you're gonna have a head trauma from falling down in your living room because that's what the floor was made of, was concrete underneath this really flat carpet. We thought we were in heaven. We had one bedroom. We had a bathroom that was so small that if you opened the door, you couldn't find the toilet. So you had to get in there and close the door. Oh, there it is. There's the toilet. Oh, and by the way, there's the water heater as well. They were both behind them. So we lived in a very small place. We were 20 and 21 years of age. He was working for $3.75 an hour. We was broke. We was broke. We spent $20 a week on groceries. Now I realize this was the 80s. So this is going to sound crazy. We had $20 to spend left over from his paycheck every Friday to go grocery shopping. We spent that $20 on the exact same thing every single week. We bought macaroni and cheese, a couple of cans of tuna, a little bit of pasta. we made sure we had peanut butter and jelly in the house. He ate banana. He had five. We bought 5 bananas, one for each day that he worked. We didn't have a lot. We didn't have a lot, but we had each other, and that was important. But the biggest problem for what I see happening today, biggest problem I see happening today is we don't have a money issue near as much as we have a choice issue. We're prioritizing things that really are not necessary to survive. For example, you do not have to have a cell phone. I know it's like the idea of surviving without a cell phone seems absolutely impossible. But you know what? We didn't have cell phones in the 80s and we didn't have a landline either. And we would go to the gas station with a dime. Now it would be a quarter if you could find one. We would go to the gas station and use that phone to call phone numbers we had memorized for our parents and grandparents and friends. And if we were applying for work, we would tell people, we would call them. So if I was interviewed for a job or I'd applied for a job, they couldn't get a hold of me. I didn't have a phone. I would tell them, I'll call them. And I would call like every 2 hours till I got the job. It's just like, well, you better hire her because she's going to annoy the hell out of you if you don't hire her. And that's the truth. But we didn't even have a landline. So people have cell phones. Okay, you may not be as poor as you think you are. It's a community. I realize that the whole world revolves around social media and cell phone usage. I get that. Sometimes but I'm telling you, with a little effort and prioritization, you can survive without a cell phone. I promise you can do it. It can be done. And in fact, think of the stress you'll be avoiding if you don't have one. That's a whole nother podcast. That's a whole nother topic. But I can tell you right now that has become something that we believe is a need. It's not really a need. It's not a need. You can't survive without it. Here's another one I heard today. Getting your eyebrows waxed and your nails done and your hair permed, straightened, weaved. Those are not priorities, my friends. I love you. I'm just being honest. They are not the top of the list priorities. Well, how can I get a job if I don't look good? You don't get a job because you look good. You get a job because you're qualified, you're motivated, you're ambitious, you answer questions clearly and concisely with respect for the person interviewing you. You do not get a job because you've got a perfect perm. That ain't why you get the job. You do not get a job because you've got the perfect manicure. That ain't why you get the job. Okay. So you don't have to spend, I'm talking hundreds of dollars on nails, eyebrows, and hair. I know it happens. I get it. I understand. And listen, I got some sisters in my life and that hair is important. And I get that. I totally get that. But that means then you're going to have to give somewhere else. You're going to have to let something go somewhere else in order to make sure that you get the hair done. If that's your priority, that's okay. But understand the cost and be okay with it. Okay? You got to understand the cost. And here's another priority. Here's another thing. We think we got to eat out like 18 times a week. Food, honestly, fast food is more expensive and has less nutrition. You are better off going to the grocery store, spending your $10 that you got. I mean, I said $20 for groceries a week back when we first got married. That would be like, I don't know, probably $100 now a week. But we bought the same thing every Friday because we had to have the same thing every week. A lot of people don't think they can do that. A lot of people don't think they can live on ramen noodles and an apple a day for breakfast and oatmeal packets that are usually cheaper than, expensive sugary cereal. So it's about prioritizing. It's not about poverty is not that hard. Listen, and you guys have a lot more resources than we did. There's like a food bank on every corner. We didn't have any of that back when I was young. My husband and I were young. I will never forget having to buy a car. I'll never forget we decided to buy a car. It was a 1979. No, it wasn't even 79. Maybe it was a 74. There was a Ford Granada. The thing was a tank. It was massive. And every payday, we went into this pay-as-you-go place for our car, and we paid $40 every single payday. And that car was a piece of crap. It was a junker. But it got us around in town. Excuse me. It allowed me to babysit and transport the neighbor kids so I could get paid to babysit a little bit. So it was not that hard. And we didn't think we were poor. I didn't think I was poor when I was a kid and my mother was taking care of us. I didn't think I was all that poor when my husband and I first got married. And we were living on, I kid you not, about $600 a month. He and I both. I worked at a convenience store part-time, a few hours a week. He worked for a cabinet company. They were paying $3.75 an hour. And he was bringing home about $145, $148 a week. And $145 every month went to my landlord. But we had water, electricity. We had a 9-inch but a 9-inch black and white TV. Listen, you don't have to have cable and streaming services. Do you know that the best thing you can do for your brain is not watch television, is not watch your tablet, is not watch your phone? Get off that thing. Set that thing down. Grab yourself a book. I mean, it doesn't even matter what the topic is. Grab the book. Grab your Bible. There were times when we had three channels living in Southeast Kansas. We had a fourth channel, but it was like 120 miles away, so we didn't get good service on our little antennas. And this little 9-inch black and white TV was all that we had. Our honeymoon, you guys are gonna laugh. We got married on a Friday in Miami, Oklahoma. Only they say Miami. We got married in Miami, Oklahoma on a Friday. We came home. Our honeymoon was in front of the little 110 air conditioner in our living room because the rest of the house was hot. We had a curtain between the kitchen and the living room to keep it cool in the living room. We dragged the mattress from our bed, which was a little full-size bed, into the living room, and we laid there and we ate popcorn and drank soda pop for like 2 days and watched 9-inch black and white TV for our honeymoon in 1985. Yes, we were pretty poor. But we didn't feel poor. We were in heaven. For us, at 20 and 21 years of age, being able to lay around for a day and watch television on that little 9-inch black and white TV, 3 channels. We did rent a VCR from a video store and we rented a few movies. And I think that total cost us about $7. We got the VCR for 2 days and we got 2 or 3 movies for 2 or 3 days. Excuse me. And that was what we did for our honeymoon. That's what we did. So it wasn't that hard because our priorities were not the things that we were looking at that we didn't have. We didn't have cell phones back then. And there was times we didn't have a phone at all. Couldn't afford one. And the phone bill was only like $28. But for us, that was a lot of money in the 80s. So we didn't have a phone sometimes. We had electricity and water, but sometimes they got shut off. And we had to make do. You know what we did? We take a gallon jug, old milk jug, clean it out the best we could, go to the convenience store, ask to use, not kidding, the water hose on the back of their building to have drinking water at the house. And listen, we didn't have a lot. We survived on the truth that you don't have to have a lot. But you got to prioritize. Eyebrows, fingernails, hairdos, cell phones, cable and streaming services, making sure you got YouTube. Those are not priorities. They're not. And you will be amazed at the peace that you have when you quiet all of that noise and that stuff desire. When you quiet that all down and you actually focus on what's really important. You know what's really important? Time with your kids, time with your spouse. What's really important? Being a good employee. Look, and here's another thing. The depression that comes when you focus on yourself and your need. Don't focus on yourself and your need. Focus on someone else's needs and help them. You'll be stunned at the way depression falls away when you are able to focus on someone else's needs. Truth. I'm just telling you the truth. So I know a lot of people are struggling now because many people have come to the place where they rely on the government to provide for them. You know what? I ain't relying on that government. They're not going to do what's best for me. They're not. And if you can find a way, get yourself a side gig. You can work for me with a wellness company. Listen, there's things that you can do. And you don't have to rely upon anybody else. Do you understand that the government shut us down for 41 days, and the whole purpose was to just control the government? It didn't have anything to do with doing what's best for us. And so for those of us that were for those people who are reliant upon the government for assistance, I tell them to stick it. You need to tell them to stick it and do whatever you got to do to find your own to rely on yourself. And I understand sometimes that's really hard. I understand, sir, but I'm telling you, there I wouldn't hand over the control of my refrigerator or my needs to the government because they got their head up their rump all the time. They're not doing what's best for the people most of the time. So you got to do what's best for you. You know what I'm saying? Got to do what's best for you. And I wouldn't let the government control how much money I was making or how much money I had for food. Mm-mm. I'd find a way. And there are ways, there are legal ways. Understand what I'm saying? There are legal ways to become self-sufficient or more self-sufficient. And I encourage you to do it, but prioritize. Prioritize. You don't have to have everything. And just think about the way, listen, there are so many ways to survive without stuff. So many, many ways to survive without stuff. Trust me. I know what I'm saying. I know what I'm talking about. Don't forget to tune in to the Diary of a Discarded Daughter podcast on my Bible on Amazon. And